Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're zooming in on, well, the heart, your heart muscle. It's this amazing engine inside you. I mean, think about it. It starts pumping way back, maybe the eighth week you're developing, and it just doesn't stop, ever, until the very end. It's just the most vital pump we have.
It absolutely is an incredible piece of biological engineering.
Yeah.
But all that work, that nonstop effort, it presents a real challenge. The heart's constantly doing this balancing act, speed versus strength, faster or harder when you need it, then slower, calmer when you rest. And if that balance gets thrown off, if it's pushed too hard, too fast, for too long, well, that speeds up wear and tear. So our goal today is to look at some of the maybe less obvious things that affect how the heart works. Going beyond just, diet and the usual exercise stuff, we're going to explore how maybe an old injury you forgot about could actually be linked to weird heart rhythms you feel now.
Okay, that's fascinating. And for everyone listening, we promise to keep this really practical. Down to earth, we'll look at a simple way to figure out if chest pain is actually your heart, or maybe just aches and pains. We'll get into how old injuries mess with the heart's controls and finish up with some straightforward ways to train and even feed your heart for a good long life. Right, let's tackle that big one first. Chest pain. It's scary, isn't it? Your mind immediately goes to the worst case scenario. So how can we, get a better sense? Is it the heart itself, the engine, or is it the stuff around it, ribs, spine, muscles?
Yeah, that's a key question. And there's actually a pretty straightforward way to get an initial idea, a kind of simple test. If the pain is coming from your bones, your ribs, the muscles in between, basically the physical structure, that pain will change. It'll get worse or better or shift around when you move your body, change position, or maybe do a specific movement.
Ah, okay. So, say I'm sitting here, feel a pang. If I stand up or stretch or press on my chest and the feeling changes, that's more likely the structure, like a muscle pull or something.
Exactly. That suggests it's musculoskeletal, as we call it. A muscle, a joint, something mechanical is complaining. Not necessarily the heart directly, but, and this is the important part, if the pain is coming from an internal organ, like the heart, typically that pain stays the same. It's constant, regardless of whether you move or change position. And honestly, when people apply this simple check, they often find most chest discomfort is actually related to their spine or ribs or just general stiffness.
Which leads to a really interesting point. Just keeping good posture, keeping your body aligned, that can actually help your heart.
It definitely can. When your rib cage and spine are aligned properly, they aren't putting extra stress on everything inside. It makes the heart's job, well, just a bit easier.
Okay, so alignment matters for the physical space.
Right.
Let's talk about the controls inside that space. You mentioned the heart's balancing act, faster, slower, stronger, weaker. And that's run by the nervous system, right? We talked about calling them the accelerator and the brake.
That's a good way to think about it. And the real issue arises when these two systems get out of whack, seriously unbalanced. So the accelerator, that's your sympathetic nervous system, it revs the heart up, makes it beat faster and stronger. Its main control centers, the nerve clusters, are actually high up in your neck. Now, if your neck is stiff or maybe shifted from an old whiplash or injury, that area can get irritated constantly and ends up sending too many go signals to the heart. Like the heart's always on high alert, thinking there's danger.
So a kink in your neck could literally be telling your heart to run a race, even if you're just watching TV.
That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah. Now contrast that with the brake system, the parasympathetic. Its job is to slow things down, let the heart relax. And its main nerve highway comes out of a tiny little opening right at the base of the skull, back of the head. What happens often after some kind of physical trauma, even a bump or fall years ago, is that this little opening can get pinched or compromised, and that weakens the brake signal.
Wow. So it sounds like trauma can do a double whammy then. It jams the accelerator pedal down because of the neck irritation, and at the same time, it cuts the brake line by pinching that nerve at the base of the skull.
That sums it up perfectly. Too much gas, not enough brake.
Yeah.
And this imbalance, this fundamental mismatch, is a really big factor behind things like rhythm problems.
Yeah.
Skipped beats, extra beats, and sometimes high blood pressure that doesn't have another obvious cause.
That's pretty mind-blowing. Could a fall off a bike as a kid, something you barely remember, still be causing those faulty signals today? Is it like damage builds up over time?
It absolutely can be cumulative. That's the crucial thing. Your body's amazing at compensating, working around old injuries for years, decades even. But the nervous system disturbance, it can linger. There's actually a really striking case study related to this. A 6-year-old boy, he was having thousands of extra heartbeats a day, extra systoles. Started around 8,000, then climbed up to 18,000 a day.
Wow. And the standard medical approach was
Mm.
what? Just wait.
Pretty much wait and see if it hit 25,000, at which point the plan was a surgery to basically destroy some nerve bundles inside his heart.
Mm.
A pretty drastic set.
Okay.
But they looked deeper. They found he'd had significant physical trauma, both around birth and later, focused right in that area at the back of the skull, the occiput. So the intervention wasn't drugs or surgery. It was careful work to address that old structural injury, realigning things.
And the outcome.
It was amazing. After about 6 months of this structural work, his extra beats dropped for 18,000 a day down to 5,000.
Just from addressing the neck and skull alignment?
Just from that. He was described as unprecedented.
Yeah.
He avoided that big heart operation entirely. So the big takeaway for everyone listening is this. One really important way to look after your heart is to make sure your body's structure, your spine, your neck, your ribs is in good shape. So the nervous system can send calm, balanced signals, not constant panic messages.
That connection between structure and function is huge. Okay, let's switch gears a bit to things we can do every day. Habits, movement, heat, what we eat. For physical activity, it sounds like the message is clear. Moderation. Avoid the extremes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We need to steer clear of, say, really excessive pro-level sports.
Yeah.
That just leads to too much overall wear and tear. And also, probably avoid very intense weightlifting, especially the kind where people hold their breath and strain really hard. That puts a huge spike of pressure on things, which isn't great for the heart muscle itself.
Got it. So what's on the good list? What kind of movement helps?
Pretty much any kind of aerobic activity. Things like brisk walking, jogging, swimming, dancing is fantastic. Team sports. And the signs you're doing it right are pretty simple. You're breathing more actively, maybe breaking a light sweat, feeling mildly short of breath, but definitely not feeling exhausted or wiped out. If you feel really tired or unwell, stop, rest. And especially if you're starting out, ease into it slowly. Consistency beats intensity bursts every time for heart health.
You mentioned dancing specifically. Why does that get a special shout out?
Dancing. It's often highlighted because it does several things at once. It challenges your brain, learning new steps, coordinating movements, that's great cognitive work, and at the same time, it gets your heart rate up, improves blood flow, even helps your digestion. It's kind of a whole body, whole mind workout.
Nice. Okay, what about heat? Saunas, steam rooms, good or bad?
They can be good, beneficial, but, and this is a big but, only in moderation. Strict moderation. The absolute key warning is never, ever sit in there until you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or unwell. Seriously, people have actually died in things like sauna endurance contests. It's dangerous to push it. Keep the temperature pretty mild, maybe 40 to 60 degrees Celsius, what's that, about 104 to 140 Fahrenheit. Start with short sessions, see how you feel, listen to your body.
Sensible advice. Okay, let's talk fuel. Food for the heart. What is it really like?
Well, one nutrient stands out as being particularly loved by the heart: potassium. Potassium is really important for the heart muscle's ability to contract properly and maintain a steady rhythm. And a fantastic source mentioned specifically is a type of dried apricot, often called uric in Central Asia, especially the small, sort of pale-colored ones.
Dried apricots. How do we use them? Just eat them.
The best way is actually to make a kind of infusion or drink. You soak the dried apricots in hot water, not boiling, just hot overnight. This helps pull the potassium and other good stuff out into the water. You can drink that liquid. And you can boost the flavor and benefits even more by adding things like dried rose hips, maybe a little cardamom, cinnamon, clove, or nutmeg. Makes it a nice warming heart tonic.
Sounds lovely. And finally, in this section, we can't ignore feelings, emotions. They impact the heart too, right?
Massively. It's not just poetry when we talk about positive emotions, joy, happiness, love, gratitude being like a balm for the heart. They genuinely have a soothing physiological effect. But the flip side is also true. Powerful negative emotions, deep grief, intense anger, jealousy, they're physically damaging.
How so? What do they actually do?
Well, intense negative stress can actually cause the coronary arteries, the little blood vessels feeding the heart muscle itself, to spasm, to tighten up suddenly.
Yeah.
And if that spasm's bad enough, it can cut off blood flow. It can literally trigger a heart attack. So learning how to manage stress, how to resolve those inner emotional conflicts constructively. It's not just about feeling better mentally. It's absolutely vital for your physical heart health.
Which kind of brings us back to the bigger picture of, living a long, healthy life. Longevity. We know that just grinding yourself down, chronic overwork, being exhausted day after day, that really takes a toll on the heart over time. There's this great story about an engineer, a professor named Michelin. He apparently worked incredibly hard, pushed himself to the limit, had a major heart attack. and then decided to tackle his health like an engineering problem.
Right, he started looking at his body almost like a machine that needed optimization, not just patching symptoms. Exactly. He applied engineering principles to his own recovery, measuring things, understanding systems, figuring out how to make them work better, and he lived to be 80. It just shows that recovery and aiming for longevity, it's definitely possible even after a big heart event, if you approach it intelligently.
Okay, so if the heart's a muscle, it needs training. But we already said not exhausting, intense training. So how do we train its reserves? You mentioned something about low oxygen or hypoxia.
Yeah, this is about building resilience.
Yeah.
And one fascinating way is through mild hypoxic training. Basically, getting your body used to functioning well with slightly less oxygen available. The classic example is spending time at altitude. Even just 10 to 15 days in the mountains, maybe once a year, can give your body a powerful reset. The lower oxygen levels up there trigger your body's backup systems.
How does that work? What actually happens that helps the heart?
Two main things. First, your bone marrow gets signaled to produce more red blood cells, which carry oxygen, so you become more efficient at transport. But maybe even more importantly, your body starts to grow new capillaries, those tiny, tiny blood vessels in all your tissues, including the heart muscle itself. This means better oxygen delivery right where it's needed. It improves the whole network, and that benefit lasts long after you come down from the mountain.
That sounds like a great excuse for a mountain holiday. But what if getting away like that isn't practical? Is there something we can do at home?
There is actually a very simple breathing exercise that mimics some of the effects of altitude. It's based on this observation in nature. Animals that tend to breathe slower often live longer. Think tortoise versus hummingbird.
Okay, so slow breathing.
Slow and held breathing. It's sometimes called the tortoise trick or similar names. It's incredibly simple. 2 parts. First, you inhale normally, then hold your breath for as long as you comfortably can, really until you feel that definite urge to breathe. Second, you exhale completely and then hold your breath out again for as long as you comfortably can.
So you're deliberately creating that feeling of slight air hunger, both on the inhale hold and the exhale hold.
Exactly. You're gently pushing that boundary, hovering near that feeling of needing air, then taking a slow, controlled breath. You're training your body and your heart to be more resilient to brief periods of lower oxygen, building those reserves.
How much do you need to do?
Well, for the maximum reported benefit, the aim is to accumulate about 30 minutes of total breath-holding time throughout the day. Now, you don't do that all at once. That would be impossible. You do it in little bursts, maybe 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Integrate short cycles of inhale, hold, exhale, hold into your day. It gradually builds that resilience. So just to wrap things up with some key takeaways. First, and most importantly, if you have chest pain that does not change when you move around, if it's just constant, please see a doctor right away. Get an ECG, see a cardiologist. Don't ignore that.
Absolutely critical advice. And on the positive side, things you can do starting today. Maybe the best medicine for your heart is simply rest. Proper rest, getting enough sleep, really allowing yourself to relax, spending quality time with people you love, actively seeking out those positive, joyful feelings we talked about. These aren't luxuries. They're essential for heart health.
And maybe a final thought to leave people with, connecting back to that engineer and longevity idea. It's a slightly counterintuitive concept. Our bodies, our cells, seem to thrive and last longer when they're just slightly hungry, maybe a little cold, and yes, a little bit deprived of oxygen now and then. This idea of slowing down, literally slowing your breath with that exercise, using moderation in exercise and heat. It's not about harsh deprivation. It's about preventing burnout. It's about ensuring your heart doesn't spend its whole life running at an emergency speed so it has the reserves to keep going strong for a very long time. Maybe give that breathing exercise a try. See how it feels.